10 things we absolutely need in Midnight. These are 10 things supposedly the WoW community unanimously is demanding. Here, a little video from Dalaran. I'll tell you one thing that I know the WoW community was demanding that we're just not going to get. Playable Amani Trolls. And if that's in this video, that doesn't mean we fucking pre-watched it, okay? It's just something that I wanted, something that a lot of people wanted. Easy W for Blizzard that they just didn't want to take because they wanted to give us Horror instead. But anyways, I digress. Let's get into the video and see what the 10 features this community unanimously wants.
How's it going? My name is Dal, and World of Warcraft as a game with every new expansion takes massive steps forward, introducing game-changing additions from things of the last few expansions like the work order system, the delve content, and a focus on solo player experience, and now player housing of Midnight. The World Soul Saga and Midnight as an expansion both are promising to help reshape Azeroth with even more features to keep the game fresh and exciting.
I'm trying to think about what the best Midnight feature we've gotten so far is. I mean, ritual sites, maybe? I mean, people like the Prey system. I heard, good things about the Prey. I've not done it. I've not gotten into it, really. I think ritual sites have been pretty darn good lately. What else? I don't know what, game-breaking features. I will say the breakup of the raid into 3, basically, raids, and now we're going to get Sporefall, too. I think that's been a better way to do things so far in Midnight, but nothing too crazy happening in terms of game features.
Being said, the community themselves also has their own wish list of features they would like to see from the game in particular. For this video, I actually went together and compiled.
I will say, though, the crest upgrading system's better. Without the frickin', flight stones and whatever stones we used to have to gather to also do that shit. I think overall the upgrading system in Midnight has been done right. With the crests and the naming system of the crests much better, too. That's been good.
All of the most requested player features that the community wants out of the game, whether it is part of Midnight, as part of future updates, or for World of Warcraft in general for the future expansions as well. We're talking about systems that are looking to upgrade the player identity, change up the economy with a bunch of fixes, and improve things like Group Finder and other UI and community-based features that have been in the game for a while that definitely need a bit of a shake-up. So for this video, I'm going to cover those 10 specific features that would easily improve World of Warcraft today if they got implemented. With that being said, as always, if you guys want to see more regular updates for Midnight as an expansion or for any future updates like patch 12.07, be sure to follow the channel and subscribe.
All right, let's see what the features are.
Let's dive right in.
Amani Trolls. Here we go.
For our features, let's first start small. Let's first start on the social end of things like player housing. Blizzard has done a bunch of stuff for housing, but there's still plenty to do that they could easily implement.
I completely forgot player housing was a Midnight feature, which is crazy because that's like literally all Blizzard's advertised for Midnight. Yeah, player housing, sure. For the people who've always wanted it, I think they got what they wanted. Player housing is a nice feature for them.
In order to breathe even more life into the housing system, like the neighborhood or maybe inside of your home in particular, you have a lot of locals that are just like walking around all over the place constantly, which is perfectly fine. But what if instead of just random locals or possibly random NPCs inside of your house, it was your alts instead? Normally, all of your alts in a warband, they're just hanging out on the loading screen while you're out in the open world or doing dungeons or raiding. And a lot of players thought it'd be kind of nice if like all of your alts could populate at least your house or maybe your neighborhood, randomly walking around, maybe interacting with objects like cooking, fishing, or just sitting around on random furniture or just sleeping. Maybe even, ability for you to place them in various different places of your house with animations. They are planning to do that with pets anyway. They're planning to add pets as NPCs.
I was gonna say, I know Blizzard's gonna do this with pets. I don't know like what it would take on the back end for them to get alts in your home, but that would be a cool thing.
You'll just walk around and roam your house. So players were wondering if maybe that could be something that could be done for your alts to make.
It would definitely have to be capped though. I think some of you guys out there have like fucking 30 alts. I don't know if Blizzard servers could handle 30 freaking NPCs inside of a tiny ass house. But yeah, your top 4 alts walking around. Imagine you're just walking around your house and you see your shaman alt shitting in your bathroom. It'd be cool.
The world feel kind of lively, so then even if you're not playing those characters, they're still out and about doing things on their own. Another feature that a lot of players want to see out of housing too is armor mannequins. Exactly the same ones like in the training post that show off some of the different weapons and armor. And I
Oh, for
imagine if you could
housing?
just have
Okay.
those mannequins out by trading posts, it'd be pretty somewhat easy to add that as a decor into the house. Imagine if you could just outfit it with all the different transmogs that your
Yeah, that'd
character
be
has,
cool.
all the different outfits to show off. So let's say somebody goes to visit your house, they could just see all the different sets that you have available
Yeah, to
and
display
potentially
armor.
display them on the mannequins. Maybe if somebody has access to all the same pieces, they could just right click it to copy that set over. There's a lot of cool functionality they could do with it that would be fantastic for the social aspect, but also ability for you to share various different sets with other players, which I think would be definitely one of the neatest features that they could add in the future.
Yeah, it'd be cool. Like if we have some decor items related to like boss kill achievements. Like I don't know what it is if we're killing the Lich King. I don't know. Maybe there might not be one, but it'd be cool if like you could hang like a piece of Frostmourne on the wall, and then beneath it you got the armor set that you were wearing the day you killed him. I think that would be kind of cool. It's like a trophy room or something.
Now, one of the coolest parts about the whole housing system is the fact that you can dye a variety of different items to various colors. Not all the items, but a huge portion of them can be dyed in order to change their appearance entirely. So if you find an item that potentially could be customized with various different colors, you can actually change how that item looks in general. Like for example, this fireplace specifically, you could just change the color of this fireplace to give it a different accent, or the gems potentially that could be adjusted, so it gives you a little bit more customizability in that regard.
They have some
Now,
of
that
that
one
already,
probably was
right?
not the best example of dyeable surfaces for me. If I go over to a room like this, for
Oh,
example,
for
which is still going to take
surfaces.
down the Christmas tree, a lot of these pieces can be dyed and customized quite greatly. So if you want the chair to have a different type of wooden texture potentially, almost like it's a different material, maybe the nails to be golden if you wanted to go for that kind of color,
some
and for
intricate
the
decor
actual
shit.
cushions, change the color to be more neutral. That is something you could totally do. And there's a bunch of items that could be customized in such a way with a variety of different color coding. Like you could really do a lot here. Now, they added a die system for a handful of items, and then it's a question of, would they eventually add a die system for transmogs? This is still a feature that players to
I
this
don't
day
think so.
still crave.
I know this has come up many times before. The reason why I don't think they put a die system in for armor is because Blizzard and the way WoW is made, it's always been very relevant to where that armor came from. Like most of the players know where certain armor sets came from based on their color. It's literally how Blizzard does like mythic rating versus heroic versus normal. It's just that's how you know where the set's from. Even PvP, it's all recolorations and stuff. So I don't. If they did that, they'd basically break that entire system. The colors would become meaningless. So I don't. At least the way they do it now, they'd have to change how they do it if they wanted to put this in. But the way they do it now, I just think it'd kind of break everything.
Because there's so many different transmogs out there. Some of them do look visually pretty good to each other, but the
Be
color
cool.
schemes may be off.
don't
However,
think
if
they'll do
you
it.
could take a bunch of pieces that look good visually and then change the coloration slightly, since we have recolors of items anyway, what if you can control what that recolor is instead? Like adding the die system that they already have in the game, but just implementing it for transmog items would give players so much more customizability of how they end up selecting and coloring their transmogs all together to make some of the pieces that normally wouldn't match together once they are in similar color scheme would potentially go amazing as a full set. So
Yeah, Arcanimus, that's one way they could do it. He said unless they do it for crafted items alone, they always look like recolors of different gear. Now, yeah, you could do that and then maybe like lock up certain colors that you can't dye them into. So say like, I don't know, the chest piece for Death Knights is red from Mythic. You can't dye it red if it looks like that chest piece. Yeah, I guess you could do it that way.
gives players even more opportunity to experiment with various different mods, as well as the die system, which I think could have
Dyeing armor would put a massive load on the servers,
options.
really? Can't you do it in Final Fantasy? Isn't dyeing armor a thing in Final Fantasy? I mean, if they could do it, I'm sure Blizzard could do it. I don't know about load on the servers.
Also, over time, World of Warcraft has definitely become a bit of a currency-heavy game. I mean, previous expansions has had currency before, but I think since War Within and Midnight...
Yeah, and technically, I mean, I'm reminded right now because of the simp transmog, tabards, like guild tabards and stuff, you could technically dye those and wear them anywhere. I mean, that's a piece of armor that's dyeable. So, I mean, it's already in the game, really. It's just, yeah, okay, the entire set maybe would change things a little bit, but I think it's clearly possible. They recently did it, two-tone dyes like furniture and housing now. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I know it exists in housing. He's talking about expanding the feature, though.
We just have a ton of various little currencies, a bunch of them that are just Some of them have very, very specific use cases. Some of them have very
waste to this realm.
Good name. Thank you for the sub on YouTube, man.
use cases, or some currencies that you can't even utilize anymore, but they're still in the game for some reason. And there's so many different things for you to manage. I'll even just, besides just legacy currencies, just in the seasonal, there's just so much. One thing the Blizzard could do is reduce the currencies, which maybe they'll do it in the future. But if anything, one thing that would really help players, that if they keep currencies, because they do have a reason for them to exist, if they do keep currencies, make it all of them account-wide as a default. A lot of the times Blizzard makes these currencies, but they make them not account-wide, not something you can utilize across multiple characters. And then they have to like strictly add specific currencies to make them account-wide specific. I think they should be account-wide by default, and then there should be only a few exceptions for currencies that are character-specific. Because a lot of them are for various side activities, various little like doodads and collectibles that you can add, and we have to wait until a very, very long time until they make them something that you can transfer over, like field accolades, for example. A currency that many of you are going to be familiar with if you've been playing and gearing ults in Midnight so far, and in next patch they're going to continue to use field accolades to gear your ults with various different strong boxes for heroic pieces for specific slots too, so helms, shoulders, any other slot you want. They're still utilizing this currency, but it's still not warbound, even though it seems like the best currency to make warbound in order to farm it up on your main and then use it to...
It's the currency itself's not warbound, but I think like a lot of the shit you can buy with that currency is. A lot of the gear and everything is warbound. So it's, yeah, just make the currency warbound would probably be better maybe, but I think a lot of the stuff you can buy is.
Gear out all of your ults, and it still just, to me, does not make sense. More currencies need to be default account-wide. That being said, certain few currencies can be made, you know, retroactively not account-wide. Crests, which are seasonal.
It's personal loot? What are you talking about? Isn't a lot of the catch-up gear now, the heroic chests and stuff, isn't that all warbound? Like you can give those chests to your alts? I think so.
Currency, I think it's fine. Sparks for each and every one a character, I feel like maybe you should be able to...
Oh my god, Blizzard got to fix that. He's right then. What the hell? Really? I thought the whole point of those was to be able to gear out your alts. Why wouldn't it be warbound? Oh, that's dumb. See, I don't have any alts really, so I didn't know. I totally thought that was something that you could do for your alts. Shit. They don't want you to do it, I guess. Yeah, it would gear out your alts super fast if they did make it warbound. Maybe they want you to spend time gearing them out a little bit more.
To earn a spark for all of your ults by doing something on your main, that would be nicer, but at least that's understandable. Delve keys, I mean, it would be kind of nice if you could funnel them as well. Things like Conquest, maybe that could be made at the very beginning, not transferable, but like after some time, at some point, you should be able to transfer these things, at least I believe so. Whether you have it on your main character or on your ults, just to make it easier for you to be able to funnel it to a single character, it should be account-wide. So at the start of the season...
Yeah, but the problem with coffer keys and the way the chests work and everything, those first couple chests give you coffer keys that you get every week. So you could then, you know, unlimited basically coffer key farming. If you have a ton of alts, you can just get a bunch every single week, and those attach to player power a bit. So that's, I think, why Blizzard's got to be careful a little bit with benefiting people who have alts too much, because then it becomes a requirement to play the game. Like, oh, in the beginning of the season, the guy with 5 alts can have 15 coffer keys or something, and he's just going to grind out bountiful delves more than anybody else and just funnel all the gear to one character. That's the issue you run into, which is why some of this stuff just can't go fully account-wide.
Making it not account-wide, perfectly fine. Eventually down the line, more things like currencies should definitely be made account-wide, just for the convenience sake of managing all these various currencies.
Yeah, coffer keys can't be.
Another feature that I've seen a number of players asking for is more of a convenience feature regarding flying. Dynamic flying, or skywriting, whatever you call it, is definitely an awesome addition. Though, if let's say you do want to go for like slow down in order to see things from up in air, but you know, maybe looking for a node, looking for a treasure, looking for a rare, just being able to slow down with skywriting can be definitely a little difficult, so you have to crash into the ground. Though it would be nice if you could switch over into a flight style that does give you more control mid-air. Normally, you have to land in order to be able to then, you know, dismount, land, cast a spell, and now you can have a bit more control over your character mid-air.
Flight style mid-flight.
A lot of players are wondering if you could just use the ability to switch flighting styles mid-air, maybe with like some sort of a 10-second cooldown or something, which would make it nice, right? You switch over into the fast mode in order to get through the zone as quickly as possible, you know, zooming through all the way through the continent, but then you can switch over into the steady flight if you're looking for a specific node or a treasure, or if you're just looking to
farming mode,
around,
basically.
looking at someone with a little bit more detail, with a little bit more control. Definitely a feature that a lot of players would like to have added, and I don't see a reason why they shouldn't add something like this at some point in the future. Another feature that a lot of players want to see is a bit of an overhaul to the work order system. Work orders by themselves aren't terrible. What players would like to see, however, is an easier way to interact with the work.
I don't know about the work order system. I doubt they would do it, but you want the cast to be instant to switch flight styles. Yeah, I don't know why it's not instant. I don't know if there's a reason for it or not. I would say there must be a reason, but sometimes there aren't. If you could switch midair, I would think it should be an instant cast. But that's not a thing yet.
Orders, especially when it comes to the convenience. One of the things that players would like for work order system, and I don't know if Blizzard can actually properly implement it at any point in the future,
remount, yeah.
is the ability to make work orders region-wide rather than on your server, which would be mostly a convenience, which would have some economical issues, but it would open up personal orders, public order.
They can't do this because of economics. It'll break a bunch of the WoW economies. You'll get if it's region-wide, then you're opening it up to freaking everybody, and it becomes a way to even transfer currencies across servers and stuff. It just won't happen. You can transfer gold that way and stuff. Yeah.
And maybe even guild orders or
this.
orders you could send to your friends from various different servers. So players
you can do it by guild, but not by servers.
Their economies, where they don't have as much competition, only a handful of characters, they have to pay more in prices than people that play on high population servers.
You have to be in the guild, though, to do that, right? Yeah, you can already do it if you're in a guild. Correct, but I think opening it up, that's a completely different thing. Make new tune, boom. Nope. I thought you have to be. You can't have this work order just spread all over every single NA server that exists. You can already transfer gold across servers using your Warbound bank. Yes, but there's limitations.
Let us lay waste to this realm.
For Funny Pants, thank you for the follow. Welcome to our Scourge. Across servers using your Warbound bank. Any servers? Well, I mean, you can make an alt on any server, yes, and then I guess transfer the gold, yes, to that alt. True. That is a way to do it, yeah. I didn't think about it. But then what about mats and shit? Won't that break the economy? Like to have all these mats, being able to be used, you supply the mats, person crafts. I don't know. Maybe it's just a server limitation. Maybe I'm just thinking about the economics of it too much, and maybe it's just like a back-end server issue that's why they can't do it.
So it'd be very, very nice and convenient if you could just have more.
Because you could put the mats in your Warbound bank too, right? Yeah, I guess so. It must be a server thing then.
Crafters to compete for your orders, which will likely drop the prices down
the WoW economy is kind of
for
broke
everybody,
already, true.
Especially for those players. Also, it would be really nice if, let's say, you could just send a work order to a friend, right? That plays on another server. They maybe have leatherworking and you to have an item crafted. You don't really want to be asking people in random players in like general chat or trade chat. So you just send the order to them. They make it for you. They give you a good price on it, and you're good to go. Wouldn't that be kind of nice? This is strictly an idea from a convenience though. Of course, a change like this would have a pretty massive impact on the economy because it's not server economy anymore. On the crafting orders, it will be a region-wide economy. So definitely that'll be an issue for Blizzard to solve. But if they were to solve it without too much of an economical upset, it would give more players more of a convenience in order to be able to interact with the work order system.
There'd be a lot of great crafting shit going on then.
Another feature that probably could use a bit of improvement is the LFG window. The LFG window by itself isn't terrible, but there are some things that could be definitely improved, especially for those.
How about the window not randomly taking down your queue? How about that? That's been a thing since this freaking window was introduced. I don't get why the fuck your group gets randomly taken down. Also, I've said it many times before, I don't like that it takes down your queue once the raid's full. And maybe Blizzard does it to keep queues like clear so that we don't have a bunch of people sitting in the queue system all the time. But I would like it like if you have a full raid, you got a 30-man raid, it would be nice to have the queue still up as like backup. And people would understand like, hey, if I queue for this, the raid's already full. And you could put like raid full in red lettering or something on the queue. But it'd be nice to have like a backup, people just waiting in line basically to get into the raid if somebody drops. I hate that the queue just drops. Then you got to relist it if somebody leaves.
Those that are into M+ content in particular. Like right now with the LFG tools, if you're signing up for groups, whether it is raids, dungeons, or really what have you, you can only sign up to a limit of 5 groups at a time.
Yeah, that's probably
that
like
is something a lot of players
thing.
would want to see increase, maybe from 5 to like 15, if not more. If you're able to, throw your hat into the ring of 15 different groups, That'd be kind of nice
Right,
instead of just
right.
having to put them for 5, but then you see like 2 other dungeons, potentially 2 other groups that you can sign up for, but you can't until the first group declines you. And then there's also an issue with like how fast do people get declined or whatnot. Like sometimes you'll sign up for a group for a dungeon and you're a healer and you sign up for a group, but then they pick up another healer. So now that queue is kind of wasted because they already picked up a healer, they're not declining you, and then you just have like, 5 slots that you can sign up for. One of them is essentially dead air slot. It'd be nice if the game added some kind of like an auto decline feature. Let's say you're a healer, signed up for a group, they pick up another healer. All right, they chose that healer. Let the game auto decline you, telling you, hey, the auto declined healer, go sign up for another group that doesn't need a healer or doesn't have a healer yet. Same thing for DPS. Like maybe instead of sending like, I'm a rogue, I sign up for a group. If they already picked up a rogue, then I'm out. They're not going to run double rogue unlikely unless rogue is broken for some reason. Things like that, right? Things like that would definitely help out the dungeon finder experience a little bit. Of course, giving it a better window, easier way for you to search for very, very specific groups, more filters would help out tremendously. But
I know a lot of people, I see them when they're streaming, they use add-ons for that queue thing to give them more information. I mean, displaying like the classes that are actually in the group too would be kind of nice, knowing what the DPS are and everything. But the queue system window's fine for what it does. I would just like it not to drop my damn queues.
Definitely make a convenience for those farming dungeons and spamming various PvE group content. Now, another feature that probably could use an improvement when it comes to WoW UI is guild and communities. Like the communities and guilds you can find, there's no problem with the communities or guilds themselves. It's rather how you find them. Right now, if you really are trying to find a raiding guild, you're not using this feature whatsoever. You're using third-party websites in order to get into an effective raiding guild, in order to put in the application, maybe chat with them in Discord, join a...
It'd be cool if they had in-game applications that you could fill out. That would be cool. Then you could just, go through the application in the game, accept or decline.
Run, hire, what have you. That's how most people find their groups. But yeah, the guild communities, it'd be nice if you could just open up the guild window and find groups in-game without having to use those third-party tools, right? And I think this feature really needs a massive overhaul, and that is something that they should definitely work on.
They do? They have in-game applications? I don't think where you could customize that. I'm talking about like having questions that you could have answered and all this other stuff. See the request to join button? Yes. Yeah, I see that. I'm talking about like an actual application that you fill out. Yeah. No, of course, yeah, you're technically applying to be accepted. I get that. But I meant like, some people, he was just talking about like raiding guilds and what they're looking for. You go to their website and you fill out their app or whatever. It'd be cool to have that in the game.
I mean, they were able to change up the
I guess for more competitive guilds, we're not
with a lot more of a bigger window in order to really customize your transmog and so many different features. It'd be nice if they'd spend some of that time for guilds and communities at some point in the future. Like, being able to give players more information besides the 3 guilds at a time and then having to click next and next and next. Choosing guild size, like, that doesn't matter. How does that impact the game whatsoever? The various different focus and languages, I mean, there should be more, right? You should be able to get more information from a guild. Let's say you look at your raid. You should be able to see what kind of a schedule they have and set what schedule.
Yeah, raid schedule would be a good thing for sure.
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday schedule, which is what a lot of guilds do. What type of roster sizing they have, what type of a guild they are, mythic or heroic, or what classes they have on the roster. So let's say if you're a preservation evoker and they already got 2, there's a good chance they're not looking for
These
another
are all really
evoke,
good things,
right? Maybe you're a rogue
nice
and the guild has no rogues, so looking for one. Hey, you could send your application that way. It'd be kind of nice in order to be able to add the whole finding a guild, getting the detailed relevant information, being able to see more information from that guild, and actually being able to do whole application process through the in-game tools specifically. That is something if Blizzard's going to continue to work on UI systems, that would definitely help out. Now,
for competitive guilds, this would be a really important information. When it comes to our guild, it's just like literally a casual social guild. That's the only reason it exists. The Samiccus Guildicus. But other than that, like for people who actually use the guilds for competitive rating and stuff like that, yeah, this information would be great.
Like doing that for communities as well, for players to find communities, just for like fun side stuff that isn't guild specifically.
What's up, Neon?
Would also be incredibly helpful as well. Now, another feature that I would want to see out of the game in particular, and those of you that are PvP will definitely sympathize with me on this one, is PvP tooltips. Blizzard, can we possibly get PvP tooltips and PvP templates in the game? Like a way for you to dynamically adjust tooltips for PvP scaling in particular. Normally, if you are trying to do some kind of PvP testing, because class abilities scale differently in PvP than they do in Dungeons and Raids.
Right.
Certain buffs, certain effects, crowd control, they have different durations, different amplification effects to them, different numbers behind them, whether you're fighting a player or whether you're fighting a raid boss in the March to Quel'Thalas encounter. And usually, you can't really test what your class effectiveness is like, and PvP training them is kind of helping that, but not really that much. The only way to really get a proper test is if you have another player that you could properly duel somewhere in Silvermoon, somewhere out in the open world. But besides that, you can't really like know what that information is going to be like, know what your class abilities are going to be like ahead of time before you queue for like a battleground or before you queue for arenas. You don't really know what those numbers are going to look like realistically.
Oh, so he wants like PvP specific, basically spell descriptions and stuff, like what it's going to do in PvP.
Unless you have some sort of a player to test this against. So it's been really, really nice that Blizzard gave some kind of like ability for you to enable, maybe next to the PvP windows, a checkbox to adjust the tooltips for PvP specifically.
Right.
And maybe it shows
sense.
you the original tooltip, and then right below that, how it's adjusted for PvP, so you can see the differences with these things. Otherwise, you have to go to external websites in order to find these differences ahead of time. And I think adding more baseline information that players should have access to.
WoW should kill PvP. Well, I think PvP is fun. It's just it'll never be the mainstay of the game. I mean, it's you're talking about an MMO with you know, with gearing and all kinds of other systems, and then you tie PvP into it with different scaling and all that. It's always going to be slightly broken. But I think PvP is a nice feature. It's fun to do sometimes.
I think would be really, really good long term. Now, another thing I really would love to see in the future is potentially them adjusting how Mythic raid lockouts work. Currently, the way that raids lockout...
This man's a genius. He's talking about Mythic raid lockout? Thank you. It's like the #1 thing I bring up all the time. Get rid of that shit. When the first 100 guilds are done killing the boss, that means Race to World First is done, all the achievements are done, unlock the damn raid, please, so other people can join and pug this shit without worrying about getting locked out for an entire week.
Work right now is, for heroic raids and heroic bosses, being able to pug this content is relatively easy. You can pop in a group, pop out of a group. If a group is killing bosses, great, stick with them. If they're struggling on a boss, swap out, go to another group. Maybe you're able to get on a group that does some of the last few bosses, and then you'll go into another group that does first few bosses, and then you got all of your raids done for the week. Mythic, however, is completely different. Mythic lockouts are not as flexible as heroic. Once you're locked to that group's instance, that's it. So if, let's say, they killed first 2 bosses, if you lock yourself to the instance, you can never go back to those 2 bosses for that week to slay them again.
It makes people reluctant to queue. It makes people afraid to join groups. And it makes people, like, if you join a Mythic Pug group and they wipe one time on the first boss, it's over. The entire group dissipates into the fucking air because everyone's afraid of getting stuck in a lockout where maybe this group does kill the first boss, but that's it. So it just creates a lot of problems when it comes to pugging. And then you get all like the highly skilled players who like actually Mythic raid with their guild every week. They're reluctant to join any pug because they're tied to their guild. They need to save their lockout for their guild, which means you don't get these experienced guys who really know what they're doing helping out the other people who are finally trying Mythic raid for the first time. Nobody's helping anybody because they got to save their lockouts for their guilds and shit.
And a lot of players are wondering if maybe they should change that at this point. Maybe they should change the system to be identical to heroic raids. Maybe allow the system to be enabled after Hall of Fame has closed, so that all the top end guilds that are doing this collaborative process, the push to slay the bosses, to get some of the best rewards and a title for the season, once all that's out of the way, that's an opportunity for players to go back to those raids, get caught up, and maybe make those raids a bit easier to pug. And changing the Mythic lockout system to be a boss flexible rather than lockout system, it would be much, much nicer for players that are just looking to pug the raids.
Yes.
Then you could join a group, and if they're struggling in a boss, you could pop out, join another group. You're not locked out for that entire week completely. You could just raid to your heart's content until you killed as many bosses as you could for the entire week. It'll make it easier for players that are in the pug world, that do want to experience Mythic raids and get some of the best gear for the season, maybe to take into Mythic Plus content, for instance, right? However, if you're dealing with 19 other random players, and like not everybody's going to have the dedication to stick around for the first 2 hours to get like 3 bosses done. Some people are going to drop out early. Once one person drops out, usually others drop out too.
Yeah, well, because it doesn't scale too. So if you lose one person, now you're Mythic raiding with 19 people. It's like it just becomes it's impossible to do at that point. Well, then 2 people left. Now the raid's over. That's it.
And then it becomes much harder to fill the group, but it's a lot of pain in the pug world in particular. yeah, it would just make the whole pugging raids a lot easier and a much better experience overall. And I think that's something, again, they don't need to have enabled at the beginning, but after Hall of Fame is closed, I don't see a reason why they shouldn't have this as a system in the future. But with that being said, as always, I do want to thank all of you guys so much for watching, and I hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you did enjoy this video or found it informative, go ahead and give it a like.
Hey, look at that. I didn't pre-watch it.
Because I would very much appreciate it. Be sure to join our Discord community if you want to keep up with all things Midnight. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. And as always, I'll see all of you guys in the next one.
His features were very much like base game features. A lot of them, I think, were right. He has a lot of good points here. A lot of things that would make the game better. Some of them that might break the game in terms of servers. I don't know. But definitely some interesting stuff here. And things I think a lot of players would like to see in the game for sure. Nice video overall from Mr. Dalaran.